Good morning, Willowbrook. Today we're in Romans chapter 2, or as I like to call it, Personal Accountability 101 with Paul the Apostle. He's sitting down with the Jews and he's communicating with them. I'd like to think of it as a conversation, and he's saying, hey, guess what? You're wanting to call out and condemn the sins of all these other people, but you're forgetting. Don't you remember God's kindness towards you? Don't you remember how patient and how tolerant and how benevolent he has been towards you? Everything he has done to show you his love and his grace. Don't forget what God has done for you, because he's doing this for you, because it's while we're sinners, he does all of these things for us. While we're sinners, he came and he died for us. And so what Paul is wanting to communicate here is don't condemn others without first evaluating yourself and remembering God's kindness towards you, and that it's not our judgment on people that help them see who God is. It is letting us realize that God is the one who judges. We just have to be an extension of his kindness and his patience and his tolerance and his good work. Now, it talks about the good works that are going to bring glory and honor, and it's going to talk about the things that are going to bring destruction. These are not our own good works. These good works are a reflection of God's good work through us, not that we are going about doing good things. We do good things in order to reflect the good nature and kindness of God towards a world that needs him. We also see that the Gentiles didn't have the law, but they had their conscience, which says God put it into each of us. They don't even know the law yet. Instinctively, they kind of obey it because that's in the conscience. And the Greeks didn't like conscience. They thought it was a dreadful thing because it would, for lack of a better word, convict them. That's the activity of God, even though they don't have the law. What this boils down to is the Jews had the law, the Gentiles had their conscience. Point is, nobody is off the hook. Doesn't matter what we're doing. It doesn't matter what we think is right. What matters is God is going to judge in truth. We only have opinions because we don't know everything. We are not the ones who see all things from all vantage points through all of time. That's God. We know our role. We know our part. That's what he wants us to be mindful of. But whether we have the law or whether we have our conscience, none of it is going to measure up to what God's judgment is. That's why we need Christ. All have sinned. In the next chapter, we're going to get into all have sinned and fallen short of God's glory. But as long as we're continuing to seek God and seek that forgiveness and pay attention to ourselves, we are going to do good works. We are going to do those things that are going to end up glorifying God, and therefore our participation in God's good work. And it really boils down to this. Do you recognize that you need God as much as anybody else? Sometimes for myself, I'm like, I feel like I need him more than anybody else. I'm always aware of what's going on in my heart. I am before the Lord saying, God, search my heart. Please reveal to me any wicked way that's within me. I learned this from David, a man after God's own heart. He said, search me and know my heart. And I take it very seriously for Paul to say, hey, if you're going to judge others first, be willing to judge yourself. If you're going to condemn others, understand that condemnation could fall on you because you could be guilty of the same thing. If you're going to teach others, are you willing to teach yourself? Are you willing to teach yourself what's good and right and pleasing to God? It's not what we do on the outside that makes the difference. It's what we do on the inside. It's not the circumcision of the body or what's external that says, hey, because you've done this, you belong here. It's what's happening in our hearts. It's the circumcision of the heart, the cutting away of anything that gets in the way, in between us and God. That is where the true change is. And it's only a changed heart that pleases God, not what we do on the outside. And from a changed heart, we do his good work. From a changed heart, we show his kindness to the world. We are patient with what everybody needs and when they need it. God is doing a work of grace in each of us, and it's going to be at different times and at different rhythms. And we've got to be willing to let ourselves play a role where we're meant to, and be mindful of that, and to say, hey, God, I'm before you with what needs to come next, because I'm not in a position to tell anybody else how to do this until I've allowed you to do it to me first. I'm not in a position to tell anybody how to love until I have allowed you to love me first. It says that in Matthew 22. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. We are here to please God. We are not here to please people. Our hearts need to be changed, not the outside, the inside. We can't pass judgment. That's God's job. We just have to look at ourselves and say, hey, God, forgive any wicked way in me and help me be a better example of your love and your truth and your kindness to this world. Willowbrook, I pray you have a wonderful day. I pray you join us tomorrow for Romans chapter 3. I hope you're enjoying these devotionals that we do every weekday morning. And I just pray you have a blessed day. Thank you for joining us.